$9,117. Alright, thanks for watching, folks. Remember to like and subscribe. Hello, everyone. It's me, Jordan, and tonight I'm going to be talking about a game I made in 3 months, and just published 35 days ago called Slime Must Grow. Not only will I be sharing some of the stats about the game, but I'll also be going over the mistakes made and lessons learned. That's right, in this video I'm going to do something no other game dev tuber has done before, and take accountability for how mid my game is and say that yes, this 69% review score is deserved. More importantly, I'll be going over how those observations will affect my next games going forward. If you think those numbers are impressive, I assure you, after Steam's cut and taxes, it isn't. Take a gander at some of the other titles in the genre that released in the same day as Slime Must Grow, so you can imagine how much better those titles are faring financially, and rightly so. They're exceptionally fun, but more on that in the mistakes section. Development for Slime Must Grow started on December 20th, 2025, and released on March 27th of 2026. That is 97 days total, which is a lot faster than the 2.5 years I've been working on my main game, Beware the Depths. But more on that mess later. In that time, I worked on Slime Must Grow for around 3 to 4 hours a day, every single day. Yes, I counted, while working full-time. I'm used to this. Don't try this at home. Before release, Slime had 635 wishlists on release day, and currently sits at 1,450. During the demo phase, when it wasn't ready at all, I put it on the February Steam Next Fest, where got a total of 438 players and 272 wishlists. 87 of those players made up that group of wishlisters, which is pretty much what you can expect when you dump a messy demo you've worked on for 5 weeks onto Steam just before Next Fest arrives. But hey, it did get literally hundreds of free wishlists from it, so I'd say it's still worth it. It currently sits at a 69% review score, putting it at just 1% below the threshold for a positive review score. And yes, this does cause me distress just to have to look at this image. The only big media coverage or marketing that Slime got was from Blitz when he played the aforementioned messy demo. On that day, Slime hit its peak sales of $534, which was April 10th. Slime didn't have any other content creators cover it. The lowest point was on the 21st when it made $125 for the day. On average, it sells around $250 a day, or about 50 to 60 copies, but this number will slowly fall over time. Overall, it's a very low ceiling, but a very healthy and consistent floor. I personally attribute this to the fact that the game is $3 and decent enough, and even though it's no game of the year, I think it does do what it says on the tin. But what did it cost to make? Other than time, the capsule art was $550, the trailer was $200, and the Steam fee was $100. As I said earlier, I made Slime while working full time, so I wasn't banking on it making a fortune. My only fear was it not even making the 3 figures to recoup the initial Steam fee. What I would consider a good release was it making about $1,000 to recoup the costs, which was the big one for me. And my ideal goal was the game making somewhere between $6,000 to $8,000. Although the long tail looks very strong for the game, I would be perfectly happy if the game didn't make another dollar. Mistakes made and lessons learned. Anyways, I've been talking about stats for several minutes and I'm bored now, so let's talk about the interesting parts. The worst part by far is that currently the game is sitting at this disgusting mixed score. Although it does have 27 ratings, only 23 of those count, as 4 of my positive reviews were either gifted or don't count for some reason or another. Although it's true if those 4 reviews counted towards the game's score, it would be positive, the reality of the situation is that the game would only have a few negative reviews if I'd given myself more time to work on it, or managed to cut the scope more efficiently. Just because you're making a small game doesn't mean that you necessarily need to force yourself into cutting it short. The issues stated by most players have all been fixed by now, but it led to a pretty rough first week. What I'm trying to say is that game dev is quite literally a skill issue. I gave this game a 100-day development lifecycle max, and I stuck to it. At this point, I can only hope the score will slowly recover over time. I do intend to add more to the game in the future, but right now I have to shift my focus back to my main game, Beware the Depths. The mistakes in no particular order. Okay, I lied. Playtest your game. This is probably the most important thing. All that matters is that you make a good, fun game that people want to play. Shout out to Wandering Blindly for his Giga Gamer skills. Dude spent hours helping me fix the game, so go watch him play the bug game. If you're a programmer first, then don't just work on systems. Make sure you're generating a lot of content for those already existing systems. Again, this one boiled down to time restrictions. I think one of the most important things for my main game that I learned is that I simply need more depth and content that revolves around the core fantasy of the game. For the incremental genre in particular, I think most of these games live on novelty and unfolding mechanics. Don't take my word on that, I don't know anything. But I think that the first half hour of Slime is especially strong, because you're constantly unlocking new things. By more time, I would have made the game sort of like Spore in the way that the game changes completely based on what stage you're in. But just do that in a non-customizable numbers go up sort of way. That that would have fully delivered on the fantasy and not left players giving me reviews like this one, that I think implies the game looked fun and they did play it through, but the fantasy simply fell short. Your slime ball auto-attacking things and numbers are going up, and it is scratching an itch, but it doesn't actually evolve from there. Look at the literal thumbnail for Blitz's YouTube video. That's the game people expected, not a derivative Nodebuster clone. Jonas Tyroller spoken about the fantasy/appeal aspects of game design, and I agree with him quite a lot now. I've changed how I look at designing games conceptually because I think that in reality, it's not the raw content itself or the size of the game that is the biggest fall point. It's the game itself on a deeper level. Like, you're not an evolving slime so much as you are a ball of goo hovering over more goo, which isn't bad by itself, but the lack of unfolding mechanics and deeper upgrade choice makes the higher level of the design weaker. I think this also caused most of the content creators I emailed to not pick it up, and if content creators aren't playing your game may not be that appealing, only okay. The fix for this is, again, to make a better game. Things like multiplayer, achievements, object and entity pooling, and the Steamworks process can be really tricky due to how environments work and things can behave way differently inside your editor versus the build, versus the Steam build, versus all of those things on someone else's hardware. Again, another reason to playtest your game to hell and back, but game dev in general is all edge cases, and once you've been through one of them, that same issue will click much faster the second time. Not finding community sooner. Once you get into some of the spaces with people who are talking shop about game design, you start to feel less insane because they're posting stuff like this in the general chat, and everyone leaves the 100 emoji because it's very relatable. There is no such thing as luck or magic, especially in game design. 2 years of development and scope creep on my main game, I'm still in the process of dialing it back and basically reworking it. So perhaps I am genuinely just bad at this. But fuck it, we ball. After all, the pain helps you learn. All in all, I'd say the game was a pretty big success, and I've learned a lot of things that will be invaluable for my future releases, especially my upcoming Friend Slop Dungeon Crawler. More videos will come about that game soon. Is the game good? I mean, I think so. Trade offer. You give me $3, and I give you dumb dopamine for a few hours. If you want to check it out, then there's a link below. There's also a link to my Discord if you want to more closely follow my game's development in the future. You can also follow me on Twitch, as very soon I'm going to begin streaming again, and I will be making models and cosmetics, etc., live over there, hopefully in just a few weeks. Anyways, thanks for watching, and take care, everybody.